for Victims' Rights Week. Deputy DA John McKinney out of Major Crimes joins us now from the LA County DA's office. Friend of the show, I like to say. John, welcome back.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So today was all about victims and remembering victims and their families, but it was met with protesters. What happened?
Yeah, it's pretty outrageous. This week is National Crime Victims Week. It's a 40-year tradition started in 1981 by Ronald Reagan. It's celebrated all over the country. It's led in a lot of places by the district attorney himself. We are having a celebration here today led by some advocacy groups because our district attorney doesn't care about victims, made no mention of this week on the DA's vebsite, and has no scheduled events to celebrate it. What we encountered when we got here this morning was a very small but very vociferous group of counter-protesters. It's kind of strange that you have people gathering to protest against victims, but it's a BLM-inspired event. BLM put out a blast on their social media yesterday inviting people to show up and shout us down. So that's what's going on out here this morning.
My understanding is that you were one of the speakers today. What was it? What was your message today?
Well, I came out to support victims. I tried to leave the politics aside and my current boss, District Attorney Gascon's failings aside. I came out with a message of coming together, of supporting victims, of empowering victims by giving them information about addiction services, mental health services, trauma-related services, things they need to know. There are 17 important rights under Morrissey's law, and where we're doing well and where we're failing in the criminal justice system to address their needs. That was my message this morning.
I'm a little confused about why Black Lives Matter protested a victims' rights awareness event when all too often it is Black lives that are taken in crimes.
Yes, Shannon, I pointed out that so far this year, of the 150 people killed in our county by guns, and these are LA Times statistics, actually it's probably underreported at this point, but of 150 people killed by guns this year through the end of March, 143 were Black and Latino. So 143 out of 150 victims of gun violence in the most regulated state in the country, gun-regulated state in the country. So I am a legal owner of a gun. I can't even show ammunition to my gun from my house to the firing range. But if a person were to kill me with a gun, the district attorney of my county would not prosecute him for using the gun in my death. That's how absurd things have gotten under this district attorney in our county.
With that uptick in shootings in LA County, it sounds like the word has gotten out among the bad guys that they won't be prosecuted, or to a much lesser degree than under Jackie Lacey.
Right. We see the statistical increase in gun-related violence and gun possession crimes, including ghost guns, which are impossible to trace or track. And we have the anecdotal evidence coming from people on the streets, proudly, almost celebratorily talking about Geroge Gascon and how he's making their criminal activities easier. We're getting anecdotal evidence from our jails and our prisons about people who are looking forward to Geroge Gascon making it possible for them to have shorter sentences so they can get back out on the streets and resume their criminal behavior.
Sheriff Villanueva had a Zoom call with LAPD Chief Mike Moore and different community activists, and they talked about the rise in crime. And one of the things that the sheriff also said was that there is a belief by some of the suspects that there are presently fewer consequences to violent acts. And it sounds like that's exactly the case, unfortunately.
It is. Geroge Gascon is ushering in an era of no-fault criminal conduct. Now, we've heard about the so-called victimless crimes. Well, he's taken it a step further with no-fault criminal conduct. That is what the message people are getting on the streets, and it's inspiring their behavior. It's making them more bold and more ready to commit crimes. I don't lay the whole increase in crime at the feet of the district attorney. It's a far more complex problem than that. However, when you have a district attorney who's not prosecuting certain crimes or charging certain enhancements, that message is being understood on the streets as a green light, and they're running with it.
All right, John McKinney, thank you, Deputy DA there out of the LA County DA's office, Major Crimes Unit. Appreciate your time, appreciate your message. Thanks for everything you're doing.
Thank you, guys.
As DA McKinney said there were protesters that showed up, again, inexplicably for the National Crime Victims Week event that was there this morning. And as of right now, there are still people that are standing there yelling on one side of a police barricade. Not a lot, but a couple dozen people yelling on one side of a police barricade while LA County Sheriff's Department deputies are on the other side, several yards away. They're not. There's no skirmish line or anything right now, but still inexplicable.
All right, more coming up next.